past 30 years in Paris. Before that, I studied in Boston at the School of the Museum of Fine Art, and in Philadelphia, Tyler School of Art. I've been working with Father Kim for the past 20 years now, almost. He was at first a client, let's say, among others, and he's been taking more and more space for many reasons in my work. I mean, in my work as a photographer, not only because I photograph all his paintings, but also because I do appreciate him very much.
Why do you like his work?
Oh, I like his work very. I'm a very big fan of Zaouvuki, and today I consider Father Kim's work just almost at the same level, or definitely at the same level, and even more when you're talking about stained windows, because I've seen some stained windows recently made by in a book made by Zaouvuki, and I was very disappointed. They were really, and I'm a really big fan. I mean, I can't say more than that, because I was really very disappointed. I mean, it's not stained glass. I mean, I used to photograph a lot in Europe, stained glass for different artists, and principally for Alfred Manessier, and those were really the best stained glass that I photographed. And now I really very much love the ones of Father Kim with the new technique that he's been working with, which is, it's incredible.
And what do you think of his use of light and line and color?
I mean, when you see, this is one painting that, one watercolor that he did with François Cheng, and it's just perfect. I can't. Whenever he puts, he asks another artist to participate into his work, artist or writer or even Cardinal Denels, his work becomes something else. But it's still his work. I don't know. I can explain. It's just another. It brings the work to another level.
And what is so distinguishable about his work that makes it different to other people, for you?
It's just a sense of color. Mm-hmm. He has a real sense of color. I like abstract work. Like I say, I mean, I'm a very big fan of Zaouvuki, as I was of other artists. But his sense of color. Look at this blue, yellow, red. I don't know what.
Yeah.
It's just it works perfectly. I mean, like I told you the other day, even when he does black and whites, just after Christmas, he brought me to. I mean, he called me to photograph 20 new watercolor, black and white watercolor. Each one of them were just perfect. The only one actually that I didn't like was the one that he preferred, but that's a matter of taste. But all the other ones, I mean, and even this one I liked it. But usually, I mean, I didn't expect, he called me to photograph 20 pieces. Usually, most artists, there's a third to more that you can, I wouldn't say trash, but there, every single one was perfect.
And what between the color and the black and white, which do you prefer?
It really depends, because the black and white, it's like Zaouvuki when he was making his black and white ink. It's more in the tradition of Chinese, Japanese, or Korean work. So it's very different. I don't know what I would prefer. I like both.
And what changes have you seen in his work over the 20 years?
Sincerely, I wasn't at first a big fan. I'm very honest, because it was a little bit, at first when I was photographing in circle, it was a little bit, at one point, always a little bit the same thing. It has a real sense of color, but I wasn't moved by it. And the difference, I think, is all today, it fills up the canvas much more, or the piece of paper. It used to be, I mean, large space of white with little color. I mean, it was gesture. It was, but it wasn't. It's not what I like. I mean, I like the painting to be full. I mean, more or less full, but and that's what I found in his watercolor, and also in his more recent work, where it works perfectly.
And what about the ceramics?
Oh, the ceramics are exquisite. I mean,
Do you go to Charolles
I went
to do
twice.
them? Yeah.
I went twice to Charolles to photograph basically all the everything there, except that it was very, very, both time very, very tiring, because you can imagine I left Paris around 4 o'clock in the morning, arriving there at 9:15, and work all day almost. I mean, we stopped because he wanted me to eat. I had to stop, but still. And the space where they put me to photograph was so tiny. It was like, to photograph some big piece, it's not really very practical. But it didn't feel on the photograph. I was very pleased. But no, the ceramics are really, really nice. Principally the ones that are very long. I mean, there is a fragile sense to it, but it's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean,
And the use of stained glass at the moment?
And the stained glass today, yeah. The new techniques that he's been working with, it's almost, I mean, in a very different way. It's a modern version of of what I was mentioning earlier, Manessier, which was a real artist for stained glass. Because so many artists, I mean, I photographed so many stained glass, and some were like, I remember, I'll mention one, in Bourg-Saint-Andéol, the stained glass were all yellow, nothing. I arrived there in the morning at 10, and coming from Paris, I must have left at 4 or 5 in the morning from Paris. I arrived at 10, there was no sun. It's like, I was with my camera, it was the old type camera, and for 1 hour I was preparing to shoot, and it's so ugly, I didn't shoot anything. And fortunately for me, the sun came in, and then the light came onto the wall and brought some life, and I made some nice photos. One made the cover of the book, so I was pleased with what I've done. But I mean, yellow, pure yellow. It's like conch. For me, conch is maybe I'm stupid, but for me, I don't see the point. It's a shame.
And your relationship with Father Kim in this work?
In what?
Your personal relationship with him? You were telling me the other day.
Yeah, it's something happened. My father died a year and a half ago, and I think that day I did some photos with him, and he saw the way I was, and he was being very nice. And when I told him the day the funeral was, he came, and I was very, very touched because and ever since that moment, something has changed in our relation. He has invited me to his birthday or some gathering that he likes to do, which I do very much enjoy because for me, like I said before, he was an artist. I photograph artwork. I've been doing that for 30 years, and after that, we passed a step. Like, there's some other artists that I became friends with, and they're not clients anymore, kind of. You see what I mean? And Father came. Something happened when he came, and what I was touched is that he came dressed. To do the ceremony, because he thought it was a mass, but in fact it was just a benediction. So he stayed with us in the church. In the church. But I didn't expect him to. It was very, very deeply touched.
So the majority of your photographs are taken in the couvent in Annonciation?
I went once in Ambert, twice in Charolles, and the rest of the time, indeed,
in the couvent.
In the couvent. Long time ago, I used to do it downstairs. The movie. It was a little bit complicated because often at the time the painting were rolled, so I had to tape them on the wall before photographing them. And the paint on the wall wasn't that great, if you see what I mean. So
how many, do you do it once a month or once a week, or how often would you go and take photos?
It depends. I can go once a week. Now I haven't seen him really for the past months, except to drop some books that I did, that I do on the internet with some, because he likes. Years ago I told him. Not years ago. 2 years ago, because he has a key. This, computer images on the internet. For him, it's abstract. Let's put it this way. So he likes paper, and I told him once, it ended up to be cheaper to do a book than to make prints.
Yeah.
Though ever since I've been doing some books, he likes it because a print, with an Epson like this, the paper and the ink cost a lot of money, so end up to be fairly expensive. But a book, you can make a book today for almost nothing. Almost nothing.
And when he has, like, Francois Cheng or Daniel's words and writing on the painting, how is that done? Does he get Francois Cheng to write on the painting?
Usually, yeah.
Okay, but the Daniel's was different, eh?
For Daniel's, the problem is that the Cardinal Daniel's didn't for the book. Since often the painting were really small, and I don't know, it was difficult for him to write directly. So often it was like so faded, and I had to enhance kind of the text, or sometime not the proper size or whatever. So at one point he asked me to, the Cardinal wrote on a piece of paper, and
you scanned it and then photoshopped
and
had
it together, which was really
difficult. Okay, and so you do scans here, you do prints here onto canvas, which are not the, and so they, so you have the big machines that
I
print.
have two. This one is because this one, my old one, is getting to be tired, so I got a new one to prepare when it's going to break down.
And do some people see the difference between the scanned or the original? I mean, the original is very clear, it's either watercolor or oil, but do people say, well, this is not an original because it could have been made many, many times digitally? Do people ever say anything?
No.
No.
Sincerely, I can show you some stuff, and it's
the quality is so good. Yeah.
Today, you can. A lot of artists, it's called mixed media.
Yeah.
They mix and they rework on it. The quality will depend more on the way. I mean, I'm very much used to print on canvas now, so I know exactly how to enhance the color because it goes much flatter.
Yeah.
So you have to contrast and intensify the colors.
Yeah.
If not,
Yeah.
it's a little bit weak.
Yeah.
But once you know, I mean, now I have almost a recipe.
Yeah.
And I apply that recipe, and I get exactly what I've what I have on the screen.
Yeah. And in terms of that process and all of the photography you do, how many hours? I mean, would he be your major client, or how many hours per week on average would you be doing?
With him?
Yeah.
Oh, it really depends.
But he'd be one of your major clients?
Oh yeah, today yes. Yeah. I work a lot with him.
Yeah.
It used to be a really small client. I mean, I used to see him 2 or 3 times a year at the most. Now, usually every 2 weeks, every 3.
Depends if he's traveling.
Depending if he's traveling.
And how much he's producing.
But usually, yeah. Something happened in his work this past few years. It's like, let's put it this way. It's like if time was running and he trying to catch time. I mean, he's afraid, and his work has also, like I say, has progressed in the same time. The work that he's doing today is not the same that he was producing 20 years ago. And usually it's the contrary for most artists. Is once they've acquired a technique, whatever, they just try to spread as much as possible. And it doesn't really. He tries a lot of things. Sometimes, on some small ones, square, really tiny square. For me, to my sense, it doesn't work. But that's the purpose. I mean, he tries, he experiments.
And Father King doesn't name any of his paintings. So how do you catalogue them digitally?
I don't catalogue. I just
From the date that you photograph them.
Whenever I photograph, I put on I put the date.
Yeah.
I shot them.
Yeah.
So that's the way I find them.
Yeah.
The problem when you ask me for some photos, I have to go through all the files.
And what? How many?
Yeah, ideally, if he was numbering each painting every single it's too late now.
Too late. How many images would you have on your computer? 3,000-4,000?
I have no idea. I have quite many files. I mean,
I have some of them from you, but I'm pretty sure it's thousands.
This is just, you see here, there's 115 just of work with François Cheng.
Right.
Just work with François Cheng. That's one file, 115.
And that's only one photograph of each. You don't take multiple photographs.
No, because I usually shoot in raw images.
Yeah.
Then I rework them on TIFF.
Yeah.
So all I have is I usually when I give clients, I give the TIFF and the JPEG. Because
well, for publishing you need the TIFF.
Yeah. Publishing, but clients generally prefer the JPEG because the TIFF there is the color.
The color, the borders. Yeah. Agreed. We're good.
An example was Torres Garcia a year ago that I photographed was very, very dark, and very dark painting. And I lighted up I cheated a little bit because I knew it wasn't, if not, you cannot reproduce it in the catalog. It would be really, and the museum called the gallery, oh, could you ask the photographer to light up a little bit the image? I asked the gallery, what did you send them? The JPEG or the TIFF? Because if they had seen the TIFF, they would have seen that the painting is as it is.
Yeah.
After I can make it lighter,
Yeah.
but it's not the painting anymore.
Mm.
And that's the difference between the TIFF and the JPEG, because there is a reference,
Right.
being the
color.
color to verify. That's where I work. I mean, I always say, anybody can shoot. I mean, I did some work for the catalog Nicolas de Stael a few weeks ago, where I didn't shoot the paintings, but I gave a color chart to the person who was shooting, the son of the lady, but I'm the one who reworked on the image. I asked him to do to shoot it a certain way, and then I verify with the gamme de couleur, with the color chart, and it came out perfectly.